Hello and welcome to this section of Unit 3, Multimedia, and creating a cool PowerPoint presentation with narration. Please excuse the unintentional rhyme. Anyway, by now you've got yourself the perfect script that even the biggest Hollywood director will be proud of. Now, in this part comes the fun task of recording narration. Yes, this is where the magic starts to come alive, as your voice talent, or you yourself, will need to get your ideas across effectively and also keep the attention of your audience. That's very important, as the last thing you want to do is to bore everyone to death. Because next thing you know, there are going to be people falling to the floor, and then the principal will have to come and get someone to pick them up. Not a good thing. So anyway, where do we begin? Well, the very first thing you're going to need is vocal cords. Because after all, that's the whole point of narration, isn't it? If you don't have vocal cords, that's okay. You can get someone else to fill in. The next thing you're going to need is a microphone. Now, if you're using a laptop, more than likely it's going to have a microphone built in already. If you're not sure, you can always try to make a test recording with a free piece of software, which I will get into shortly. Now, for best results, I highly recommend using a separate microphone like the one I'm using right now. Sure, you can use the built-in one, but the good thing about using a separate mic is that it's less likely to pick up background noise, echo, and other noisy distractions. Plus, it just sounds a whole lot nicer. Now, you don't really need an expensive mic, just something that'll get the job done. You can find affordable computer mics at places like GS.com and Fulltech, and they usually connect in either one of two ways, 3.5mm or USB. Don't worry, I'll explain what those are right now. 3.5mm connector is similar to what you'll find in a pair of headphones for connecting to your cell phone or your portable music player, and it usually plugs into the side of your laptop or the back of your PC next to this little mic icon. It looks something like this. See the red jack right there? That's your microphone input. However, not all laptops have this jack, so your next option would be USB. Another option you can go with is a computer headset, similar to this one. The next thing you're definitely going to need is a pair of headphones or speakers. This is going to allow you to monitor what you're saying to make sure everything sounds great. Headphones are better as they will let you hear things much more clearly than, say, your laptop's built-in speakers. Also, make sure that while you're recording that you're not hearing yourself back through the speakers, or else you're going to get some nasty feedback or echo. If you're not sure how to hook up your microphone or headphones, just ask a parent to help you out. Now you may be wondering, how on earth do you use your laptop to record your voice? Well, now that we have the equipment, the next thing you're going to need is some sort of recording software. Now earlier I mentioned a free piece of software you can use, and it's called Audacity. Very handy piece of recording software that can do a whole lot more than just record. But for now, we'll stick to basics. To get Audacity, hop onto your computer's web browser and go to this address, audacityteam.org. Once you're there, go ahead and scroll down and click here where you see Download Audacity. This will get you the latest version. It's available for Windows, Mac, or even Linux if you're into that sort of thing. So go ahead and choose the one that's right for your computer. Again, ask your parents if you need help to install it. Okay, here we are in Audacity. Now, if this all looks complicated, don't panic. It's going to be clear in no time. We're just going to focus on a few areas. The upper section here is where you're going to be controlling things like playback and recording. Now, if you ever use like a portable music player, a DVD player, heck, even a tape recorder for those of you who are old enough to know what those are, then these buttons are going to look familiar. These are your transport controls. And the ones we're going to be using the most are play, stop, and record. And there's also a button here. Then this one is going to take you right back to the beginning of your recording. Down in this area, this gray section down here, this is the business section of Audacity. And we're going to make a test recording now, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, now before we record anything, let's check to make sure our microphone is working. Now see these two icons here? This one looks like a mic. This one looks like a speaker. Next to these, we have some number scales. These are called our level meters, and this will show you how loud or how quiet the sound is. Let's click on this meter here next to the little microphone and see what happens. Notice here in this meter next to the microphone icon, it says click to start monitoring. Now if we click it, let's see what happens. Okay, Now, as you can see, the meter is moving up and down along with the sound of my voice. The louder I speak, the higher up it goes, and vice versa. Now, you're going to want to make sure the recording level is set loud enough, but not too loud. As a rule, make sure it never goes over 0. Otherwise, you're going to get what's known as clipping. And that's a really nasty, crunchy, distorted sound that's going to make your ears beg for mercy. You don't want that. Now, if it's too quiet, it's going to sound like I'm very, very small. Where'd everyone go? Whoa. Okay. There you are. I almost thought I lost you for a sec. So, anyway, as a rule of thumb, a good level is somewhere between 12 and 6. And this is where you're going to want it to peak. So what do I mean by peak? Well, simply put, it's the highest point the meter will reach when you're speaking. So as you can see, I'm aiming for somewhere between 12 and 6. Testing 1, 2, 3. To help to keep your levels consistent, try not to move in too close or too far back from the mic while you're recording. Otherwise, this is going to happen if you move too far back, and as I start to get closer, well, you get the idea. Now, if it's too loud or too quiet, you can adjust the level using this volume slider right around here. And this will help to make sure your peaks aren't too high or too low, and that it doesn't clip over 0. Remember, as they say in the industry, red is dead. Okay, now that you've checked your levels, it's time to make a test recording. Go ahead and get your script, and we'll read the first few lines for practice. In a second, we're going to press record. Now, after you press record, wait a couple seconds before you start speaking. Don't worry if you goof up. Just carry on reading from the last sentence. Ready, set, record. Located inside the park is the longest zip line in Belize, 5 different waterfalls, and unexcavated Maya ruins. The park is also an excellent location for bird watching, with more than 200 species of birds identified in the area. And stop. Okay, now as you can see, there's an image down here at the bottom that looks like a bunch of zigzag lines. This right here is called the waveform, and is actually a visual representation of the sound waves that are picked up by the mic. It's pretty cool, huh? Now, notice that the louder sections, like these, have higher peaks, while the quiet areas, like these, are nearly like flat lines. Now, this is actually quite useful when it comes to editing, as each of these little bumps here can be thought of as words. So when you need to cut out a mistake, it makes it a lot easier to find the section you want to remove. But we'll get to editing in a little while. Okay, let's play back what we've just recorded to make sure it all sounds good. Located inside the park is the longest zip line in Belize, 5 different waterfalls, and unexcavated Maya ruins. Okay, that sounds good to me. Now at this point, a lot of you are probably wondering to yourself, man, do I really sound like that? Well, don't worry, you're not alone, and it's perfectly fine. The more you do this, the more you're going to get used to hearing your own voice, and this will greatly help you to overcome your shyness. As for the recording, check to make sure the level is good. If you want, you can see if there's any clipping by going here up to View and choosing Show Clipping. If any of the peaks are too high, they're going to show up in the waveform as a red line. So let's look through it, and if there are no red lines, you're good to go. Alright, so now you're ready for the real thing. Let's delete this recording we just made by clicking on the X next to the track. Poof, there it goes. Now remember to wait a couple seconds after you press record, so nothing gets cut off at the beginning. Take a deep breath, and here we go. Located inside the park is the longest zip line in Belize, 5 different waterfalls, and unexcavated Maya ruins. Now, this would be a good time to save your session in case anything goes wrong. So let's go up here to File, Save Project As, and a box will pop up. Now it says Save Project is for an Audacity project, not an audio file. This is very important to note as you'll be saving your progress, not the actual audio. The project is just your recording session, and we can't use this in PowerPoint. So later on, I'm going to show you how to actually save the audio file that we'll then bring into PowerPoint. For now, just click OK. Let's choose a name and a location for our project. So let's call it Places in Belize, and we'll save it right there in Documents. Save. Okay, now let's move on to the next step, editing your narration. Now again, the beauty about using audio software like Audacity is that you can edit and manipulate what you've recorded. Simply put, editing is basically cutting and removing unwanted sections, as well as rearranging things around the way you want. Let's start by trimming the beginning and end of our narration. We want the voice to begin as soon as it starts to play, so let's get rid of the unwanted silence. First, we'll press play, and then as soon as the voice starts, we'll press pause. Okay, there's where the voice starts. So let's zoom in a little bit so we can see closer. Click on the magnifying glass with the plus sign a few times to zoom in. Now check out the waveform. You can see right away where the voice starts, right here at the first bump. So let's choose our selection tool, this one that looks like a capital I, and then just click just to the left of the first peak in the waveform, right here. Let's play it from here to make sure that it starts correctly. Okay, good. Now we'll choose Select, Region, Track Start to Cursor. This is going to highlight everything before the point where we set our cursor, right here. Then press the Delete key on the keyboard, and there we go. Let's check the result. Located inside the park is the... And there it is. Our audio starts right away. Let's do the same for the end of the track. Let's go here to the end. Click right after the last peak in the waveform. Go up to Select, Region, Cursor to Track End. Now we've just highlighted everything from the cursor onward. Press the Delete key and we've successfully trimmed the narration. Okay, so what happens if we made a mistake? Like coughing, or there's a dog barking, or your mom's yelling at you to clean your room. Well, with a bit of editing, we can fix that. Listen to what you have one more time and get ready to click that pause button if you hear something wrong. Located inside the park is the longest zip line in Belize, 5 different waterfalls, and unexcavated Maya ruins. The park is also an excellent location for bird watching, with more than 20 species, with more than 200 species of... Okay, right there. It should actually be 200 species of birds, not 20. That wouldn't be such a great park for bird watching, would it? Only 20 birds? You're better off going to the pet shop. Okay, so let's put our cursor right before the mistake and press play. With more than 20 species, with more than 200 species of birds identified. Okay, so the mistake starts here, and then later on I go on and correct myself right about here. So now let's highlight this section by clicking and dragging the mouse from the start of the mistake to the corrected part. Okay, one thing you can do to help you is to use looped playback, and that'll repeat the highlighted section over and over just to make sure that you don't delete something accidentally that you want to keep. To use looped playback, hold down the Shift key on your keyboard, and you'll notice that the play button changes. Keep holding Shift and then press play. Watching. With more than 20 species, with more than 20 species, notice we highlighted a little bit too much there, so let's adjust that. Using the selection tool, let's drag the edges of our highlighted area until we get it just right. So when you put your mouse cursor to the edge of the highlight, it'll turn into a finger. Now click and drag the edge to fine-tune where you want it to start. And we'll do the same for the end. We'll just adjust it right here. Okay, let's check the result. With more than 20 species, all right, that sounds good. Now next, we press the delete key to get rid of it. All done. Now we're ready to export our narration, or in other words, save it as a file that can be played or used in other programs like PowerPoint for an example. To do this, go up to File, Export, and you'll see several choices here. We have MP3, WAV, OGG. These are just different types of files. You may be familiar with MP3 if you carry music on your phone, as it makes small files but with lower quality. WAV will give you the best quality but bigger files. For our purposes, let's choose WAV since we'll be using PowerPoint. Give your file a name and then choose the location where you want it to save. And then press OK. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up this section on recording narration for your PowerPoint presentation. Now before we wrap up this video, I'm going to show you another trick you can do to spice up your presentation a little, using music to enhance your narration. Now, when adding music to your presentation, you're going to want to choose something that's appropriate for your topic. I highly recommend something with no words, as words will be too distracting. There are a couple of places you can get free music for your presentation. YouTube has quite a large audio library that lets you search by genre, mood, duration, and more, and it even has sound effects. Facebook now has its own library of music as well. You can preview the music tracks until you find one that works for you, and you can download them to your computer. To bring them into Audacity, choose File, Import, Audio, and then find one of the tracks you just downloaded and click Open. You can use this gain slider to adjust the overall volume of the music so that it isn't too loud. You don't want it to drown out your voice. Let's trim the music so it's just slightly longer than your narration. Choose the selection tool, then highlight the section of music from just past the end of your narration all the way to the end. Then press delete. Now let's fade the music out at the end. Highlight the end of the music, then go up to Effect and Fade Out. Lastly, let's use the time shift tool to slide our narration so that it starts a little bit after the music starts. Select the time shift tool, then click and drag your narration to where you want it. Now let's hear the result. Located inside the park is the longest zip line in Belize, 5 different waterfalls, and unexcavated Maya ruins. The park is also an excellent location for bird watching, with more than 200 species of birds identified in the area. Okay, there you have it. Again, once you're happy with the result, all you have to do is export it as a WAV file, and the narration and music will be saved together. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.